Footnote. As I was saying, I said innocently to this Hispanic deaf young woman, "Do you ever think about having kids?" And her response to me was, "That's an inappropriate question." Now, inappropriate, really. How did she get this perception of me that that word, which is never used among deaf people, should have come up in our conversation? How did she get the idea to use that word? Well, as I've said, those helpers over at the halfway prison house that I was trying to escape, their main mental prison guard, a person that you folks call an MD, medical doctor with a specialization in psychiatry. This man sent this helpful letter to Gallaudet to tell all the faculty down there that I was severely mentally diseased. Okay. And, well, let me say that when I finally got a job a few years later, requiring a high school diploma, and I was in my 40s. And this job led to the retirement I'm now in. One of the first things I heard when I started working, the lowest paid and the lowest status position at that 200-person office, I was told, "Hey, listen, a secretary's telling me this as I'm running errands for my department. Everything that goes through that personnel office goes right out to everybody throughout this place. Everybody knows what's going through that personnel office. It just goes right out like wildfire." And of course, since I'd been hired as a handicapped worker, even though I didn't believe I was handicapped, couldn't get a job otherwise. It took me 2 years to get that one, high school diploma. I'm thinking to myself, well, she wants to talk about this handicap thing, so what did I say? I said, well, does it really? And that's it. I say anymore. And I never said one word in all the years I worked there about mental disease or anything related to it, not one word. Okay, now, everything goes out like wildfire from the personnel office. And when I get to Gallaudet, after this letter goes out, I have a young woman saying to me that something I've said to her is inappropriate. That was the only time I ever heard that word used at Gallaudet University. And by the way, in my first semester there, when I did go to Gallaudet as a full-time undergraduate student for one academic year, I made straight A's my first semester. Now that's not something that I usually talk about because to me, that kind of thing is not something I value. However, it is a kind of counterpoint to this letter sent out about me. Okay? Now, in addition, I did meet the woman I would marry at Gallaudet, and as a result of that letter, I would think not long after I started to take up with the woman who would be my wife, she was approached on 2 different occasions by other deaf women at that school to warn her away from having anything to do with me because I was mentally diseased and therefore dangerous, not to have anything to do with me. Well, my wife ignored that. She did. Here's my footnote.